A man suspected of killing 5 people in Oregon was tracked across state lines before he's found dead in Enumclaw, Washington. The suspect was found dead inside his vehicle behind a Safeway last night.
Sebastian Robertson with our Seattle sister station explains how investigators tracked him from the Oregon coast to western Washington.
Early Saturday morning, outside Forest Grove, Oregon, firefighters responded to a vehicle fire and discovered human remains.
I will say that in my 22 years here, I have not been a part of or witnessed a scene quite this complex involving this type of an investigation.
Investigators ultimately found 5 people and several pets dead. The case they're now investigating is a quintuple homicide. By Sunday afternoon, detectives had identified 36-year-old Benjamin Charles Parker as their suspect and tracked his cell phone from the Oregon coast through Pierce County and into Enumclaw.
So they called us and said, we have a cell phone ping in your city. Here's the plate and the car that you're looking for. We go to the flock system, we put the plate in. We could see that he'd hit a couple of our cameras, and the last hit was him coming into the city, and he had not left. So we had a good indication that he was still here.
Police eventually found Parker's pickup behind this Safeway off Highway 410. Officers initially approached it using a drone, surrounded the vehicle with spike strips before determining Parker was dead inside. Investigators say he died by suicide.
Thursday night into Friday morning, an argument, a horrible fight. Stella Jade Kimsey told her boyfriend, "You have to leave." She said those 4 words. And what Benjamin Charles Parker allegedly did in response to those 4 words destroyed 3 generations of one family. And 2 people who came because they loved them. 5 people shot dead with a .22 caliber gun. Their bodies set on fire. The pets shot dead. The house set ablaze. And Benjamin Parker, 187 miles away in Enumclaw, Washington, dead in his car. Welcome to 0 Hour Crimes TV. Tonight we are in Forest Grove, Oregon. And the case of Benjamin Charles Parker is one of the most devastating domestic violence mass killings this country has seen in 2026. Because this did not start as a mass killing. It started as a couple's argument. It started with 4 words. You have to leave. And everyone who came to check on the woman who said those words paid for it with their lives. Stay with me, because every single detail of this case matters tonight.
Here's the dispatch call from the moment firefighters arrived expecting to find a car fire, but quickly realized something much more serious had happened.
This is some suspicious circumstances, certainly. So we're gonna disconnect our hoses and get out of here and let the sheriff's office clear this, and then we'll return up.
Firefighters arrived at this rural large property west of Portland early Saturday morning. They called for law enforcement after discovering human remains in a burnt car. Investigators later found a total of 5 people dead throughout the property. Yesterday, the sheriff's office identified the victims and revealed the suspect was 36-year-old Benjamin Parker, the boyfriend of 26-year-old Stella Kimsey. Authorities say Parker lived with Stella on the property where the killings happened. After the bodies were discovered, investigators tracked Parker to Enumclaw, Washington using cell phone pings and flock license plate cameras. Police found him in his vehicle behind a Safeway Sunday night, already dead. Police say Parker had died by suicide. The other victims have also been identified. Of course, there's the suspect's girlfriend, Stella Kimsey, 26 years old, her mother, Rowan Kimsey, age 60, Stella's grandmother, Mary Elizabeth Kimsey, age 85, Stella's best friend, Linsey Haraldsen, and Alvin Chu, Linsey's partner. Investigators also found 2 cats and 2 dogs dead. Another cat was severely injured and had to be euthanized.
Forest Grove, Washington County, Oregon. A small city of approximately 26,000 people, about 30 miles west of downtown Portland. Known for its Pacific University campus, its wine country surroundings, its tight-knit community character. The property on N.W. Otis Lane sits in an unincorporated rural area just outside the Forest Grove city limits. A plot of land owned by Rowan Carla Kimsey, 60 years old, who lived there with her 26-year-old daughter Stella and Stella's boyfriend Benjamin Parker. A rural property, a family home, 3 people under one roof. Neighbor Paul Caprioli, who rents a place kitty corner from the Kimsey plot, described the area to OPB in words that capture exactly the kind of community this was before August the 22nd. He said, "It's not forced or fake in any way. People genuinely care about each other." That care, that genuine, real, unforced community love, is exactly what brought 4 more people to NW Otis Lane on Saturday morning. And it is exactly what got them killed. If you're new to 0 Hour Crimes TV, this channel exists for cases like this one. Cases where 5 people deserved better. Cases where the people who came to help paid the highest price. Hit subscribe. Hit the bell. 5 names deserve a full audience tonight. Stay with me. Now, let me walk you through the timeline. Because this case does not begin on Saturday morning when firefighters arrived at the burning property. It begins on Thursday evening, or the early hours of Friday morning. The exact timing has not been confirmed, but investigators know it was one or the other. An argument broke out between Stella Jade Kimsey and Benjamin Charles Parker at the property on NW Otis Lane. And here is where the confirmed details become extraordinary, because we know what happened in that argument. Not from speculation, not from rumor, from a text message. Mary Elizabeth Kimsey, Stella's 85-year-old grandmother, texted a friend at approximately 8:30 p.m. on Friday. Lead Detective Mark Pavelny read that text at the press conference. He said, "Mary said Stella and Mr. Parker got into a horrible fight sometime during either Thursday evening or overnight into the early hours of Friday morning. And Stella told him he had to leave. A 26-year-old woman, in a relationship, in her mother's home, telling her boyfriend, 'This is over. You have to go.' That is not a crime. That is a right. That is the most fundamental act of self-determination a person in an unhealthy relationship can make." And Benjamin Charles Parker allegedly responded to it with a .22 caliber gun. Now here is the detail that makes this case uniquely devastating. What followed the argument on Thursday night was not a quick, contained act of violence. What followed was a chain of missed calls, a phone chain of love and concern that drew 4 more people to that property. One by one, Linsey Haraldsen, Stella's best friend, was on the phone with Stella around the time of the fight. The call suddenly dropped. Linsey could not get Stella back on the phone. She called the property to speak to Stella's mother, Rowan. Rowan told Linsey she was going to go check on Stella and would call Linsey back. Rowan did not call Linsey back. Rowan Kimsey drove out to her own property to check on her daughter. She never called back. When Mary Kimsey, Stella's grandmother, couldn't reach any of the 3 women she planned to pick up Alvin Chu and go to the property, an 85-year-old woman, in her 80s, getting in a car, to go check on her daughter and her granddaughter because neither of them was answering the phone. She brought Alvin Chu, Linsey's partner, with her. They drove to NW Otis Lane. They never left. 5 people, all connected by love and concern, all pulled to that property by the simple act of caring about someone who is not answering their phone. And Benjamin Parker allegedly killed every single one of them. I need to stop here and ask you something in the comments, because this detail, the phone chain, is the detail that breaks this case wide open. Linsey was on the phone with Stella when the call dropped. Rowan went to check on her daughter. Mary drove out to check on Rowan and Stella. All of them came because they loved Stella, and they were worried. And all of them were killed. So here is my question for the comments right now. At what point in that phone chain should someone have called police instead of driving to the property themselves? Was there a moment where calling 911 instead of going in person could have saved lives? Drop it below, because that question is haunting everyone in Washington County tonight. Now I am going to say every name.
Stella Jade Kimsey,
26 years old. The woman who started everything by doing the right thing. By telling Benjamin Parker he had to leave. She lived on that rural property with her mother. She was described by her family as passionate and caring. She loved animals. She loved being out in nature. She loved her family above everything.
Rowan Kimsey,
60 years old. Stella's mother. The woman who owned that property. Who drove out on Friday morning because her daughter was not answering the phone and she needed to know she was safe. A mother doing what mothers do. Mary Elizabeth Kimsey, 85 years old. Stella's grandmother. The woman whose text message, sent to a friend at 8:30 on Friday evening, is the most complete documented account of what triggered this massacre. 85 years old. Got in a car to check on her family. Linsey Haraldsen. 26 years old. Stella's best friend. The family described her, and I need you to hear this, as like a sister to Stella Jade Kimsey. Like a sister. She was on the phone with Stella when the call dropped. She could not reach her. She called Rowan, and then she and Alvin drove to that property. Alvin Chu, 27 years old. Linsey's partner. He drove to NW Otis Lane with Mary Kimsey. He came because the person he loved was worried about her best friend. He came because that is what you do for the people you love. 2 dogs and 2 cats were also found shot to death. A 3rd cat was found shot and wounded and later humanely euthanized. He did not just kill 5 people. He killed the pets. He shot the animals in that home. That detail, that specific documented detail, tells you something about Benjamin Parker in those hours on NW Otis Lane that no other single fact in this case communicates as clearly. Hit that like button right now. 5 people came to that property because they loved Stella Jade Kimsey. Every single one of them is gone. Hit like and keep watching because this case is not done yet. After Benjamin Charles Parker shot all 5 victims with a .22 caliber gun, he tried to cover his tracks. Parker set multiple fires, trying to set fire to each of the bodies and at the home itself. He was trying to burn the evidence. He was trying to burn the people. The Forest Grove Fire Department first discovered human remains while responding to a fire on the rural property around 5 a.m. Saturday. After the discovery, they called local law enforcement for backup. A fire department responding to what they thought was a property fire and finding bodies in the flames. Parker then fled the scene. Parker later told his mother he had passed some of the first responding fire trucks as he drove north. He saw the fire trucks coming. He was driving the other direction. He called his mother and told her. He drove 187 miles north to Enumclaw, Washington. The suspect was found dead in his car in Enumclaw, Washington, about 187 miles north from where the bodies were found in Forest Grove. Police believe the suspect killed himself. He did not face a courtroom. He did not face Mary Kimsey's friend who received that final text message. He did not face Linsey Haraldsen's family. He did not face Alvin Chu's loved ones. He did not look Stella Kimsey's surviving family members in the eyes and answer for what he did to 5 people on NW Otis Lane. He drove to Enumclaw and died in his car. Now I need to address something directly. Because in the days since this story broke, social media has been full of theories and rumors about what was really happening in the relationship between Benjamin Parker and Stella Kimsey. Let me be clear about what is confirmed and what is not. What is confirmed? The argument happened Thursday night into Friday morning. Stella told Parker he had to leave. Investigators have described this as a domestic violence case. Washington County District Attorney Kevin Barton said at the press conference, quote, "This tragedy really highlights the far too common issue concern throughout our nation, including here in Washington County, and that is the issue of violence in the home." What is circulating on social media but not officially confirmed, multiple accounts online, from people claiming to know the family, have alleged that Parker had a documented history of controlling behavior toward Stella. That this was not the first argument of this magnitude. That Stella had been trying to end the relationship for some time before Thursday night. That the decision to tell him to leave was not a sudden one, but the culmination of something that had been building for months. None of those specific claims have been officially confirmed by the Washington County Sheriff's Office. The investigation is ongoing. But the DA's framing of this as a domestic violence case and the DV Resource Center's involvement in the press conference tells you that investigators are treating the relational history between Parker and Kimsey as central to understanding what happened. Amy Babcock, executive director of the Domestic Violence Resource Center, said at the press conference, "Leaving an abusive relationship can be extremely dangerous." Extremely dangerous. Stella Jade Kimsey told Benjamin Parker he had to leave. And those 4 words cost 5 people their lives. Here is my second question for the comments tonight. The DA confirmed this is a domestic violence case. The DV Resource Center said leaving an abusive relationship is extremely dangerous. So I want you to answer this. if there was a prior history of controlling behavior in this relationship that the people around Stella knew about. Does that change how we assess the responsibility of a system? Was there a moment where someone, a friend, a family member, a neighbor, could have called for intervention before Thursday night? Or is that an unfair question to ask of people who were themselves trying to help? Drop it below. I want every perspective. As of August the 26th, 2026, here is where the investigation stands. Washington County Sheriff Caprice Massey said at the press conference, "Although the suspect is deceased, this does not mark the end of our work. Our commitment now is to provide the families of Mary, Rowan, Stella, Linsey, and Alvin with answers as we learn them. They deserve nothing less." The investigation is active. Even though Parker is dead, investigators are working to establish the full timeline, the full history of the relationship between Parker and Stella, and the exact sequence of events between Thursday evening and Saturday morning when firefighters found those bodies. Digital evidence, phones, messages, call logs, is central to the investigation. Mary Kimsey's text to her friend at 8:30 Friday evening is already a confirmed piece of evidence. The dropped call between Linsey and Stella is confirmed. The call Linsey made to Rowan is confirmed. The reconstruction of Parker's movements, driving north, passing the fire trucks, calling his mother, is confirmed through phone records and his own statement to his mother. The weapon, a .22 caliber firearm, has been confirmed by Detective Mark Povolny. And the Kimsey family, in a statement read aloud at the press conference, described their lost relatives as passionate and caring people who adored animals and being out in nature, who adored each other. And their family. They adored their family. And Benjamin Parker took them from each other. All 5 of them. In a single night. Before you leave tonight, I want you to go back to that text message. An 85-year-old woman, texting a friend at 8:30 on a Friday evening, saying her granddaughter had a horrible fight with her boyfriend, and that Stella had told him to leave. Mary Elizabeth Kimsey sent that text, and then she got in a car to check on her family. She was 85 years old. She had a right to be at home on a Friday night. She chose to go and check on the people she loved, and she was killed for that choice by the same man her granddaughter had just told to leave. 5 people, 3 generations, 2 friends who came because they could not reach the people they loved. The Domestic Violence Resource Center said leaving an abusive relationship is extremely dangerous. The DA called this a case of violence in the home. And a man drove 187 miles to Enumclaw, Washington, and died in his car without ever having to look a single family member in the eyes. Drop everything in the comments tonight. Who are you most thinking about as this video ends? What do you think needs to change in this country to stop a person from being killed for telling their partner to leave? And what do you think should have happened differently that could have saved any of these 5 people? Like this video. Share it. Subscribe to 0 Hour Crimes TV. And say their names. All 5 of them. This is 0 Hour Crimes TV. We don't look away. We don't move on. We stay until there is justice.